When your boss says you aren't leadership material, you thank him, clock out at 5 o'clock for the first time in years, and come home to a surprise that makes a promotion look like a booby prize at a funeral. I'm Dave Mitchell, 45 years old, and until 3 hours ago, I thought I knew exactly what my life looked like. I work construction management for Pollard and Associates, been there 12 years. My wife Sarah manages a boutique advertising firm downtown. We live in a red brick townhouse in Millfield, one of those Midwestern suburbs where everyone knows everyone else's business, whether you want them to or not. The front door clicked shut behind me at 5:23 p.m. on a Tuesday that started normal and went straight to hell. I was still stewing about my conversation with Mr. Pollard when I heard voices upstairs. Sarah's voice, sure, but there was someone else. A man's voice I recognized, but couldn't immediately place. I climbed the stairs quietly, my work boots somehow silent on the old wooden steps. The voices were coming from our bedroom. Sarah's laugh, that high, flirty laugh she used to give me when we were dating 20 years ago, drifted through the partially open door. "Trevor, you're terrible," she was saying. "What if Dave comes home early?" Trevor, Sarah's cousin Trevor Blackwood, the golden boy of the Blackwood family, the one who inherited his father's real estate empire at 30 and never let anyone forget it, the one who always made sure to mention his lake house, his BMW, his connections at the country club whenever we saw him at family gatherings. I pushed the door open. They were on my bed. My wife of 18 years and her arrogant cousin, tangled up in sheets I'd helped pick out at Macy's last Christmas. Trevor's expensive suit was crumpled on the floor next to Sarah's red dress, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary. And Sarah saw me first. Her face went white, then red, then some color that doesn't have a name. "Dave, you're early." Trevor had the decency to look embarrassed for about 2 seconds before his natural smugness kicked in. He actually smirked as he reached for his pants. "Dave, awkward timing, buddy, like we were friends, like he hadn't just been screwing my wife in my bed." I walked to the closet and pulled out Sarah's largest suitcase. Then I started filling it with her clothes, methodically, quietly. Dresses, shoes, that expensive perfume she loved. "What are you doing?" Sarah had wrapped herself in a sheet and was staring at me like I'd lost my mind. "Packing," I said. "You can finish up here, then get out, both of you." Trevor was buttoning his shirt, still wearing that smug expression. "Look, Dave, I know this looks bad, but it looks like you're sleeping with my wife in my house in my bed." I kept packing. "Which, coincidentally, is exactly what you're doing." "Dave, please," Sarah started, but I held up a hand. "How long?" She didn't answer. "How long, Sarah?" "6 months," she whispered. 6 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for this house, this life, she was sneaking around with her cousin. The same cousin who never missed a chance to remind me that I was just a construction guy who got lucky marrying into the Blackwood family. I zipped up the suitcase and set it by the door. Then I grabbed Trevor's jacket and tie from the chair. "Get out." Trevor straightened his shoulders, trying to look intimidating. At 6'2" with 15 years of construction work behind me, I wasn't impressed. "You don't own Sarah, Dave. Maybe if you'd paid more attention to her instead of your precious job sites." I took a step toward him. Just one step, but it was enough. Trevor grabbed his shoes and headed for the door. "This isn't over," he called back as he hurried down the stairs. Sarah was crying now, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Dave, we need to talk about this. It just happened. I never meant. 6 months doesn't just happen." I picked up her suitcase. "You'll hear from my lawyer." Home. I carried her bag downstairs and set it on the front porch. Sarah followed, still wrapped in the sheet, still crying. The neighbors were going to love this. Klein from next door was already peeking through her curtains. Perfect. By tomorrow morning, the whole neighborhood would know. "Where am I supposed to go?" Sarah asked. "Trevor's got that big house on Maple Street. I'm sure he'll make room." Home. I went back inside and locked the door behind me. Through the window, I watched Sarah stand on the porch for a few minutes before Trevor's BMW pulled up. He loaded her suitcase into the trunk, and they drove away. I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey and sat in my living room, trying to process what had just happened. My marriage was over. My wife had been cheating on me for 6 months with her own cousin, and somehow, I was the one who felt like the fool. My phone buzzed, a text from my buddy Mike. "Heard about Sarah. You okay?" Home. Word traveled fast in Millfield. Too fast. Then another text. This one from my friend Jim. Sorry, man. We all knew, but didn't know how to tell you. They all knew. My friends, my neighbors, probably half the town knew my wife was screwing around, and nobody thought to mention it to me. I turned off my phone and finished my whiskey. Tomorrow, I'd start figuring out how to put my life back together. Tonight, I just wanted to sit in the quiet and pretend the last 6 months hadn't happened. Home. The next morning brought a headache and 17 missed calls. 12 from Sarah, 3 from Trevor, and 2 from Sarah's mother, Margaret Blackwood, the family matriarch who'd never thought I was good enough for her precious daughter. Home. I deleted the voicemails without listening to them and drove to work. Pollard and Associates occupied a converted warehouse on the industrial side of town. Mr. Pollard had built the company from nothing 40 years ago, and he still showed up every morning at 6:30 sharp. He was in his office when I arrived, reading the paper with his coffee. "You look like hell, Mitchell." "Feel worse." I poured myself coffee from the pot he always had brewing. "Sarah and I are getting divorced." He looked up from his paper. "Sorry to hear that. You need time off?" "I need to work." He nodded. "Fair enough. We've got that new development on Riverside Drive. Could use someone to oversee the whole project. Interested?" The Riverside project was huge. 50 houses, 2 years of steady work. It was also exactly what I needed to keep my mind occupied. "When do I start?" "This afternoon. Dave?" He folded his paper. "For what it's worth, you're better off without her." I spent the morning reviewing blueprints and specifications for Riverside. Clean, honest work that made sense, unlike everything else in my life right now. At lunch, I drove to Murphy's Deli, a place I'd been going to for years. Mike and Jim were already there, sitting at our usual table in the back. I grabbed a sandwich and joined them. "So," Mike said, "how bad is it?" "Bad enough." I took a bite of my turkey club. "She's been seeing Trevor for 6 months. Jim nearly choked on his beer. "Trevor? Her cousin Trevor? That's the one. Jesus, Dave, that's messed up even for Sarah." Mike was shaking his head. "I knew she was stepping out, but I figured it was some guy from work, not family." "You knew?" I put down my sandwich. "How long have you known?" Mike and Jim exchanged glances, the kind of look that told me I wasn't going to like what came next. "Dave," Jim started, "we didn't know for sure. It was just rumors, you know? Bar talk." "What kind of rumors?" "People seeing them together. At restaurants, hotels. But we thought, they're cousins. We figured it was innocent." Mike leaned forward. "Look, we should have said something. We were wrong not to. But we didn't want to blow up your marriage over gossip." I stared at them. These were my best friends, guys I'd known since high school. We'd been through everything together. Marriages, kids, divorces, job losses, and they'd sat here for months, knowing my wife was cheating, and said nothing. How many people knew? "Dave, how many?" Jim sighed. "Most of the guys. Some of their wives. It wasn't a secret, exactly. More like an open secret. An open secret. My wife was screwing her cousin, and it was an open secret that everyone knew except me. I gotta go." I stood up and threw a 10 on the table. "Dave, wait," Mike called, but I was already walking away. I drove around for an hour, not really going anywhere, just driving. Millfield suddenly felt like a fishbowl, with everyone watching, everyone knowing. I'd lived here my whole life, and now it felt like enemy territory. When I got home, Trevor's BMW was in my driveway. He was sitting on my front steps, looking perfectly at ease in his expensive suit. Sarah was nowhere to be seen. "We need to talk," he said as I got out of my truck. "No, we don't. Look, I know you're pissed. You have every right to be. But this thing with Sarah and me, it's not what you think." I walked past him to my front door. "It's exactly what I think." He followed me. "She's unhappy, Dave. Has been for years. You work all the time. You never talk to her. You treat her like she's just part of the furniture." I turned around. Trevor was standing too close, invading my space like he owned it. "So you decided to comfort her." "I love her." He said it like it was supposed to mean something. "I've always loved her. Even when she married you, I knew it was a mistake. Get off my property." "She's leaving you, Dave. The marriage is over. You can make this easy, or you can make it hard. But either way, it's over." I said, "Get off my property." Trevor smiled that smug smile. "Or what? You'll hit me? Go ahead. Give Sarah's lawyer something to work with in the divorce." He was baiting me, and we both knew it. I wanted to wipe that smile off his face, but he was right. Any violence would only hurt me in court. "Tell you what," Trevor continued. I'll make you a deal. Sign the papers, don't fight the divorce, and I'll make sure you get a fair settlement. Fight us, and I'll bury you in legal fees. I've got money, Dave. You don't. He was right about that, too. The Blackwood family had money and connections. I had a decent job and a mortgage. Think about it, Trevor said, heading back to his car. But don't think too long. Sarah's already filed the papers. After he left, I called my lawyer, Tom Bradley. I'd used him to buy the house, and he'd always been straight with me. Dave, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I need a divorce attorney. Ah, sorry to hear that. I can handle it, or I can refer you to someone who specializes in family law. Can you handle the Blackwoods? There was a pause. That depends on what we're dealing with. They've got resources, but they're not invincible. Why don't you come in tomorrow morning, and we'll talk about it. That evening, I sat in my empty house and tried to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so fast. 2 days ago, I was a married man with a stable life. Now I was facing a divorce. My friends had betrayed me, and I was apparently the last person in town to know my wife was cheating. My phone rang. Sarah. Dave, please talk to me. Talk. I know you hate me right now, but I need you to understand. This wasn't planned. Trevor and I, we connected. We have so much in common, and you and I, we've been drifting apart for years. So you decided to drift into bed with your cousin. He's my second cousin, Dave. It's not like we're siblings. It's still your family, Sarah. It's still our bed. She was quiet for a moment. I want us to handle this like adults. No fighting, no drama. We can split everything fairly and move on with our lives. Your boyfriend already made me that offer. He's not my boyfriend. It's complicated. Seems pretty simple to me. Dave, I'm trying to be reasonable here. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder for who? You? You're the one who blew up our marriage. Our marriage was already over, we just hadn't admitted it yet. Maybe she was right. Maybe we had been drifting apart. But that didn't excuse what she'd done, and it sure as hell didn't excuse the way she'd done it. I'll see you in court, Sarah. I hung up and poured another whiskey. Tomorrow I'd start fighting back. Tonight, I just wanted to mourn the life I thought I had. Tom Bradley's office was in a converted Victorian house downtown, all dark wood and law books. He'd been practicing for 30 years, and it showed in the way he listened without judgment and asked the right questions. So Sarah's filed for divorce citing irreconcilable differences, he said, reviewing the papers that had been served to me that morning. She's asking for half the house, half your retirement, and spousal support. Can she get it? Depends. Illinois is a no-fault state, so the affair doesn't matter legally. What matters is assets, income, and duration of marriage. You've been married 18 years. She makes decent money, but you make more. She'll probably get something, but not everything she's asking for. What about the house? That's trickier. It's in both your names. You've both contributed to the mortgage. Most likely scenario is you sell it and split the proceeds. The thought of selling the house hit me harder than I expected. I'd put my sweat into that place, renovated the kitchen, finished the basement, built the deck out back. It wasn't just a house. It was proof that a construction worker could build something lasting. There's something else, Tom said. Trevor Blackwood is paying for Sarah's attorney. Marcus Weinstein from Chicago. He's expensive, and he's good, so they're trying to intimidate me. Maybe, or maybe they just want this over quickly. Either way, you need to be prepared for a fight. I left Tom's office with a stack of paperwork to fill out, and a retainer fee that made me wince. But I'd made my decision. If Sarah and Trevor wanted a war, they'd get one. The next few weeks fell into a routine. Work during the day, legal paperwork at night. The Riverside project was going well. We'd broken ground on the first phase and were ahead of schedule. It felt good to build something while my personal life was falling apart. But the social isolation was getting to me. Mike and Jim had tried calling a few times, but I wasn't ready to forgive them. Other friends seemed to be taking sides, and most of them were choosing Sarah. She'd always been more social than me, better at maintaining relationships. Now that was working against me. The breaking point came on a Friday night at O'Malley's, the bar where half of Millfield went to unwind after work. I'd stopped in for a beer and a burger, trying to feel normal again. Mike, Jim, and 3 other guys from our old crowd were at the bar. They saw me come in, and the conversation stopped. Awkward glances all around. I ordered my beer and found a table in the corner. A few minutes later, Mike walked over. Mind if I sit? I gestured to the empty chair. He sat down and fidgeted with his beer bottle. Look, Dave, I know you're pissed at us. You have every right to be. But we've been friends for 25 years. That has to count for something, does it? Because from where I sit, it looks like you guys chose Sarah over me a long time ago. That's not fair, isn't it? You all knew she was cheating, and you said nothing. You let me walk around town looking like a fool while everyone whispered behind my back. Mike looked uncomfortable. We were trying to protect you. By lying to me. By not hurting you with something we weren't sure about. But you were sure, weren't you? You all knew. He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Jim appeared at our table, uninvited. Dave, come on. We're all adults here. Sarah made her choice, you made yours. Why can't we just move on? Because you're not just moving on. You're taking sides. Nobody's taking sides, Jim said, but his tone suggested otherwise. Really? Then why is Sarah still invited to poker night? Mike and Jim exchanged glances. Bingo. She's been part of the group for years, Mike said weakly. So have I. Longer than her, actually. Look, Jim said, leaning forward. Sarah's going through a tough time. The divorce, the gossip, people judging her. She needs her friends. What about what I need? You're a guy, Dave. You'll bounce back. Sarah's more fragile. Fragile. My cheating wife was fragile, and I was just supposed to suck it up because I was a guy. I stood up and threw a 20 on the table. You know what? You're right. Sarah needs her friends, and I need to find out who mine really are. I walked toward the door, but Jim called after me. Dave, don't be like this. We can work it out. And I turned around. The whole bar was watching now, waiting to see what would happen. Work what out, Jim? The fact that you all knew my wife was screwing around and said nothing? The fact that you're choosing her over me because she's fragile? Or the fact that you think I should just shut up and take it because I'm a guy? My voice was getting louder, but I didn't care. Months of anger and humiliation were bubbling up. You want to know what's fragile? My trust in people I thought were my friends. You want to know what's tough? Finding out that everyone you care about has been lying to you. Jim stood up, his face flushing. We didn't lie to you. You didn't tell me the truth. Same thing. What were we supposed to do, Dave? Come running to you with gossip? Blow up your marriage over rumors? You were supposed to be my friends. Friends don't let friends walk around looking like idiots. Mike was standing now, too. So what? We're supposed to spy on your wife? Follow her around town? Ugh, you're supposed to have my back. But you don't, do you? You never did. I was always the outsider in this group, the blue-collar guy who married above his station. Sarah was always one of you, and I was just tolerated. The words hung in the air like smoke. I'd said what we'd all been thinking but never acknowledged. That's not true, Mike said, but his voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Tell me, Mike, if it was your wife cheating, would I have kept my mouth shut? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. I walked out of O'Malley's and didn't look back. Behind me, I could hear the conversation starting up again. Everyone dissecting what had just happened. By tomorrow, the whole town would know about my outburst. Good. I was tired of being the victim in this story. It was time to start writing my own ending. The next morning, I woke up with a clear head and a plan. If Sarah and Trevor wanted to play hardball, I'd show them what hardball looked like. I started with research. Trevor's real estate empire looked impressive from the outside, but public records told a different story. He'd inherited a dozen properties from his father, but he'd also inherited the debt that came with them. 3 of his rental properties were in foreclosure proceedings, and he'd taken out a second mortgage on his house last year. Trevor Blackwood wasn't as rich as he wanted people to believe. I shared this information with Tom Bradley, who raised an eyebrow. Interesting. If Trevor's having financial problems, that might explain why he's in such a hurry to settle the divorce. Sarah's spousal support would help his cash flow. Can we use this? Maybe. If we can show that Trevor's supporting Sarah financially during the separation, it might affect the alimony calculation. I also did some digging into Sarah's business. Her advertising firm had been struggling for the past 2 years, losing clients to bigger agencies in Chicago. She'd had to lay off 2 employees last year and cut her own salary, another fact she'd neglected to mention during our marriage. But my real breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Mrs. Klein, my nosy neighbor. She appeared at my door on Saturday morning with a casserole and a concerned expression. Dave, I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I just wanted to see how you're doing. Mrs. Klein was 73 years old and had lived next door for 40 years. She knew everything that happened in the neighborhood, and she wasn't shy about sharing information. I'm managing, Mrs. Klein. Thank you for asking. I just want you to know, I never approved of what Sarah was doing, bringing that man to your house while you were at work. It wasn't right. You saw Trevor coming to the house. Oh yes, several times. Always in the afternoon. Always when you weren't home. I have the dates written down if you need them. She pulled a small notebook from her purse. Mrs. Klein kept records of everything: deliveries, visitors, suspicious activity. It was annoying when you were trying to live quietly, but invaluable when you needed evidence. Would you be willing to testify about what you saw? Of course, dear. Sarah always thought she was better than the rest of us. Time someone took her down a peg. I spent the weekend organizing my evidence and planning my next move. Tom had advised me to document everything, so I created a timeline of Sarah's affair, complete with dates, witnesses, and financial records. Monday morning, I got a call from Marcus Weinstein, Sarah's attorney. Mr. Mitchell, I represent your wife in the divorce proceedings. I'd like to discuss a settlement. I have an attorney. Of course, but sometimes these things can be resolved more efficiently with a direct conversation. Are you available to meet this afternoon? I agreed to meet him at his office in Chicago. Weinstein's firm occupied 3 floors of a downtown high-rise, all marble and mahogany. His office had a view of Lake Michigan, and probably cost more to furnish than I made in a year. Weinstein was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with the kind of confidence that came from never losing. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Mr. Mitchell, thank you for coming. I'll get straight to the point. Your wife wants to end this marriage amicably. She's prepared to be reasonable about the settlement if you're willing to be reasonable in return. What does reasonable mean? She keeps the house, you keep your retirement account. No spousal support, no ongoing obligations, clean break. I almost laughed. She cheats on me, and I give up my house? Mr. Mitchell, I understand you're angry, but anger is expensive in divorce court. My fees are $400 an hour. Your attorney charges what, $200? This could drag on for months, cost you tens of thousands in legal fees. For what? To prove a point? To get what's fair. Fair is what a judge decides, and judges are unpredictable. Take the deal, Mr. Mitchell. Move on with your life. I stood up. Tell Sarah I'll see her in court. Weinstein's expression didn't change, but I caught a flicker of annoyance. That's your choice, but I should warn you, we have evidence that might be embarrassing for you in court. What kind of evidence? Your drinking, for instance. Your recent outburst at a local bar. Your pattern of working excessive hours and neglecting your marriage. Sarah's prepared to testify that you were emotionally absent for years. And I'm prepared to testify that she was physically absent from our marriage bed. Specifically, that she was in someone else's. As I mentioned, this is a no-fault state. Adultery is irrelevant. Maybe legally, but this is a small town, Mr. Weinstein. When the local newspaper covers the trial, when Sarah's clients read about her affair with her cousin, when Trevor's tenants hear about his financial problems, well, reputations matter in small towns. For the first time, Weinstein looked uncomfortable. Are you threatening my clients? I'm stating facts. Sarah and Trevor want to play games. I'll play games. But I've been in construction for 20 years. I know how to tear things down. I left Weinstein's office feeling better than I had in weeks. They'd shown their hand, and it wasn't as strong as they wanted me to believe. That evening, I got a call from Sarah. Dave, what are you doing? Marcus says you threatened him. I didn't threaten anyone. I just explained the situation. What situation? The situation where you and Trevor think you can push me around because I'm just a dumb construction worker. The situation where you assume I'll roll over and give you whatever you want to avoid embarrassment. I never said you were dumb. You didn't have to. Your whole family's been saying it for 18 years. She was quiet for a moment. Dave, I know this is hard, but we can't stay married. We both know that. I agree, we can't stay married. But that doesn't mean you get to dictate the terms. What do you want? I want what's mine. Half the house, fair division of assets, and no spousal support. You're a grown woman with a business. Support yourself. That's not reasonable. I gave up career opportunities to support your ambitions. What ambitions? I'm a construction manager, Sarah. Same job I had when we got married. You're the one with ambitions. I need the house, Dave. My business is here, my life is here. Then buy out my half. I can't afford that. Then we sell it and split the money. Please, Dave, don't do this. I'm not doing anything, Sarah. You did this. You made the choice to cheat. You made the choice to leave. You made the choice to hire an expensive lawyer to try to intimidate me. I'm just responding. She started crying. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did. And now you want me to pretend it doesn't matter because it's convenient for you. What can I do to make this right? Nothing. It's too late for that. I hung up and poured myself a small whiskey. Not the desperate drinking of a few weeks ago, but a measured celebration. For the first time since this started, I felt like I was in control. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. We need to talk. I deleted it without responding. If Trevor wanted to talk, he could do it through lawyers. I was done being reasonable. The confrontation I'd been expecting came on a Thursday evening in November. I was working late at the Riverside site, reviewing the foundation work for the next phase, when Trevor's BMW pulled up. He got out of the car wearing his usual expensive suit, but he looked different, stressed. The cocky confidence was gone, replaced by something harder and more desperate. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Yes, we do. This has gone far enough. I kept reviewing my blueprints. I'm working. Dave, look at me. I looked up. Trevor's face was flushed, and his hands were clenched into fists. He was angry, but there was something else there too. Fear. You're trying to destroy my business. I'm not trying to do anything to your business. Bullshit. You've been spreading rumors, talking to my tenants, poisoning people against me. I haven't talked to anyone about your business. Then how do they know about the foreclosures? How do they know about my financial problems? Maybe because they're public records? Maybe because you haven't been as careful as you thought? Trevor stepped closer. You think you're smart, don't you? Blue-collar guy outsmarts the rich boy. But you have no idea what you're dealing with. Enlighten me. I have connections in this town. People who owe me favors. I can make your life very difficult. I set down my clipboard and stood up. Trevor was tall, but I had 30 pounds of muscle on him and 20 years of physical work. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. Back off, or I'll bury you. The way you buried yourself in debt trying to maintain a lifestyle you can't afford? His face went red. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you inherited 12 properties and turned them into a financial disaster. I know you're 3 months behind on your mortgage. I know you're using Sarah's divorce settlement to try to save your business. How do you? He stopped, realizing he'd just confirmed what I'd suspected. Public records, Trevor. Amazing what you can learn when you actually do your homework. You bastard. He swung at me. It was a clumsy, desperate punch that telegraphed itself from a mile away. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me. He stumbled and nearly fell. Don't, I said quietly. You think you've won? You think Sarah's going to come back to you? I don't want Sarah back. I want what's mine. She never loved you. She told me that. She married you because she felt sorry for you, but she never loved you. The words hit harder than his punch would have. Maybe because part of me had always suspected it was true. But she loves you. Yes. Enough to bail out your failing business? Trevor's expression flickered. That's not what this is about, isn't it? You're broke, Trevor. Your father's empire is crumbling, and you need money to save it. Sarah's divorce settlement is your lifeline. You're wrong. Am I? Then why are you here? Why are you threatening me instead of just waiting for the divorce to go through? He didn't answer. It's because you're desperate. Because if this divorce gets dragged out, if your financial problems become public, if Sarah realizes she's trading a stable marriage for a sinking ship, your whole plan falls apart. Shut up. How long do you think it'll take her to figure out that you need her money more than you love her? Trevor lunged at me again, this time with both hands reaching for my throat. I grabbed his wrists and twisted, forcing him to his knees. I said, don't. Let go of me. Are we done here? Let go. I released him and stepped back. Trevor got to his feet, straightening his suit jacket. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Go home, Trevor. Try to salvage what's left of your business. Leave Sarah alone, and leave me alone. Or what? Or I'll make sure everyone in town knows exactly how broke you really are. He stared at me for a long moment, then walked back to his car. As he drove away, I realized I was shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. For the first time in months, I'd stood up for myself. It felt good. The next morning, I got a call from Tom Bradley. Dave, we just received a new settlement offer. They're willing to split the house 50-50, no spousal support, and they'll pay your legal fees. What changed? I'm not sure, but whatever you did, it worked. I thought about my conversation with Trevor. Maybe he'd realized that dragging out the divorce would hurt him more than it hurt me. Or maybe Sarah had finally figured out what kind of man she'd chosen over her marriage. Do we take it? It's a fair offer, Better than fair, actually. Then let's take it. 2 weeks later, Sarah and I met at Tom's office to sign the final papers. She looked tired, older than her 43 years. The confident, stylish woman I'd married was gone, replaced by someone who seemed smaller, more fragile. How are you doing?" she asked as we waited for the lawyers to finish their paperwork. I'm fine. I heard about your promotion. Project manager for the whole Riverside development. That's great. Mr. Pollard had offered me the promotion the week before. More money, more responsibility, more respect. It was everything I'd wanted professionally, and it had come just when I needed it most. Thanks. Dave, I want you to know, I'm sorry for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed to say it. I looked at her, this woman I'd loved for 18 years, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just emptiness where all those emotions used to be. Okay. Is that all? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Sarah? That I forgive you? That I understand? That we can be friends? I want you to say something. Anything. I'm saying okay. I heard you. I acknowledge your apology. And now we can both move on. She started crying. I made a mistake, Dave. A terrible mistake. Trevor and I, it's not working out. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Really? I thought about it. Was I sorry that her affair had turned into a disappointment? Was I sorry that Trevor had used her? Was I sorry that she was learning the hard way that the grass wasn't greener? Yeah, I said finally. I am sorry. Not because I want you back, but because I never wanted you to be unhappy. I just wanted you to be happy with me. The lawyers called us in to sign the papers. 20 minutes later, my marriage was officially over. As we walked out of the building, Sarah turned to me one last time. What happens now? Now you live your life, and I live mine. Will I see you around town? Probably. It's a small place. Will you hate me forever? I considered the question. Hate required energy, emotion, investment. I didn't have any of those things left for Sarah. No, I said. I won't hate you forever. She smiled through her tears. Thank you. I walked to my truck and drove home to my empty house. Tomorrow, I'd start looking for a smaller place, something that was just mine. Tonight, I'd pack up the remnants of my old life and prepare for whatever came next. For the first time in months, the future felt like a blank page instead of a prison sentence. I was 45 years old, divorced, and starting over. But I was also free, financially stable, and finally in control of my own story. It wasn't